Go for it.
This is Mickey Kennedy from eReleases.com, and you're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, reminding you to take a kid fishing.
I love it. Oh, yeah. Yes. I can tell all kinds of stories about fishing. Anyway, yes, good idea. Take a kid fishing. That would be great. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Michelle E. Dickinson. Thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer, and welcome to the show. How's it going?
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for finding me, for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I need to keep poking at that. There's that podcast guest thing that you're on, right? And there's this thing called Overcoming Adversity. And everybody in there is worth a look.
Okay. All right.
But you really stood out. So there you go. So you are at resilienceasalifestyle.com. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited about in your business today.
Oh, Lord. The work that we're doing is so powerful. We just had a client tell us that we are their mental health non-clinical solution for their educators. It's just been such a wild journey getting to support educators, just educators and corporate people who are on the brink of burnout and don't know how to stop the train.
So many people. That's like everybody, basically. Yes.
So true.
So true. Yes. So good for you. And I can tell it's working because you're smiling.
Yeah. I love it.
When you use your God-given talents and, and your gifts to help people and you see them get results, that's why people are, here. They're to help. Sure. Yeah. We're here to help other people using our special gifts and talents. Okay. Absolutely. So let's all shed a tear. How awesome that is. Happy tears. But let's go back in time and talk about Michelle E. Dickinson before she grew up and became this resilience expert. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in my hometown of Westfield, New Jersey, on the East Coast.
Right.
And I grew up with a mom who had bipolar disorder.
Ooh,
so
that's rough.
That's like the root of my story as to why I do this work. And I do this work to keep her memory alive.
Wow.
But, it's hard when anyone has a loved one with a mental illness. It affects the entire family, no matter what.
Right.
And it shaped me. It shaped me and led me down this path that I wouldn't even know I was going to go down.
Totally. Wow. Okay. So that's got to be rough. I think everybody has had a taste, like in TV, movies, just the horror show that bipolar can be. I had a good friend, didn't know she had bipolar. Sad because she had a top secret clearance and they made her get out of the military because she had bipolar. Right. Yeah. I was like, why? I get you can't have a security clearance, but she didn't need a security clearance for her job, right? Yeah. She could have gotten another job without a clearance anyway. Sorry, I'm bashing now.
I get it.
She got a really good deal. I think she got like a military retirement.
Okay.
Which is good, right? So, and if you're on your meds, you're good. It's when you're not. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. I'm guessing there was a lot of drama and trauma going on in the house.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my mom was in the hospital quite a few times throughout my childhood,
Wow.
Went through shock therapy.
Whoa.
All kinds of drugs that she had to be on, like this cocktail of assortment, back then when I was little, many years ago.
Right.
It wasn't as advanced, the medication, the compliance of medication. So she was always on a different cocktail.
Basically, they're just trying things out, right?
Absolutely.
It's a lot of
Absolutely.
trial and error. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so that shaped me, and I thought I was pretty good because I had emerged a contributing member to society. I had gotten a really good job. I was working a corporate career, and then a colleague found out about my upbringing. And at the time, we had a private TED platform where I worked. So they nominated me to give my TED talk about my mom.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it shifted everything. The trajectory of my career shifted is the true story there.
So what were you doing? Were you already in the mental health space?
No, I was
No.
not at
Okay.
all. Not at all. It was like the story that lay dormant within me. No, I was working in a quality role within my corporate job.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like you give your TED talk, you tell the story of your mom, and it's like you see the reaction from people, and you say to yourself, like, well, if I could do this in a 10-minute talk, what could I do if I wrote a book? And I became an advocate and started becoming part of the solution, removing stigma. And that's sort of the direction
Right.
things are forward. So,
I
yeah.
look forward to the day when you don't say, my mom had a mental health illness.
Yeah.
Right. She was just sick. My mom
Yeah.
was sick. Right. I mean,
Right.
mental health is still one of those things that is so stigmatized, right? That we have to talk about it like in hushed tones and like, and people get blamed. It's like, I get it. You're blaming the results of the behavior, but it's all part of it, right? Like we would never like stigmatize people with cancer. Oh, those cancer people, right? It's ridiculous. What do you think about it?
It is.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I get off soapbox. All right. So you're working an ordinary quality, like a QC, whatever kind of job.
Yeah.
And suddenly somebody hears about you, your mom, your story. So let's get a little, give us like the elevator pitch of the story that you did in your TED talk. 'Cause I didn't check it out yet.
No, it's really just about what it's like loving a parent with a mental illness, and how much it was a roller coaster.
Sure.
Some days she was in a great mood. Some days I was terrified of her.
Right. Yeah.
So I just explain that story to just help people understand that, people aren't their diagnosis, and we have to always remember that the hurt others, and it's not an excuse.
Right.
For it, but it's the reality, right? And my mom, if asked, I'm quite sure would have said she wouldn't have wanted to have her life any other way. Similar to what Carrie Fisher said in the documentary she was in, that the mania was worth the ride.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just a reflection of what that experience was like, how it shaped me, and how it basically set me down a road to want to do more.
Right. Interesting. Like you had no idea, like growing up, you kind of like, you're just like, it's normal for you. It's sort of becomes your norm, right? Then later on, like, oh, wow. Okay. So, all right, let's walk through the steps before we get into like how you built this whole business up around it. So you give the TED talk, right? Mm-hmm. There's a response.
Yes.
It's a big response.
Yes.
And then you decide to write a book. So how did that go, and where did that take you next?
No, so I just decided if I could impact this many people in a 10-minute talk, what if I really wrote the memoir of the experience, to reach other people who maybe had a hard time putting their experience into words. And so I wrote my memoir about what it was like, and became an advocate, went out and started talking more openly about it. And, and realized that everything in life is happening for our highest good, because had that not happened to me, I would not have gone on and done the work that I'm doing.
Right. That makes sense. So what were the intermediate steps? So you write the book, and then how long after that do you like spark up this business that you're doing now?
Oh, it's a crazy story, right? Because I write and release the book. I then go through a divorce, which leads to my first experience with depression. So now I'm like, my mom has passed away. I released the book. I get diagnosed with depression and I have to figure out how to navigate that. Which was like,
Been there, done that. Depression is no joke.
It's no joke, right?
I know.
So
yes. Like for me, I was in my 20s and, all I remember was that whenever I was alone, all I would do was cry. So like if you're driving home from work, crying, getting home and sitting around, nobody to hide by or pretend like I'm like, okay, cry. So it was like crying and sleeping. It was very, very sad. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I was in the same boat. And then my cousin came along and said, you're doing a triathlon with me. And that was the greatest gift ever. Cause then I just went right into my physical health.
Okay.
And that really is what helped me.
That's probably healthier than what I did.
You learn coping mechanisms. Like for me, like I knew I needed to find a way to help myself. My clinician was opposed to giving me medication and challenged me to find healthy vices. So,
healthy vices. I like that word. That's a good word. Yeah.
So hence I threw myself into training for a triathlon that caused me to eat healthier. And, it was just a whole progression, but it also equipped me to understand how can I help myself in the future. Right. And that became the premise of the work that I'm doing in helping people like prevent burnout and take better care of themselves. Because these are the things I'm doing every day to keep myself above the line.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that was shocking to me. I discovered somewhere along the line too in my life that like depression and any other mental health kind of situation has got a huge like physiological component, like diet, exercise, sunlight, fresh air, all those things. That was like just common sense. Like the thing that your mom would kick you out of the house, like get out of the house. It's a gorgeous day, right? That happened to us all the time, right? Because they knew back then. Like, yes, it's shocking though. Like, because growing up, it's just like, okay, well, those people, they need the meds, right?
Yeah.
They probably do, but not forever, I think is the answer. Right.
Exactly.
It's almost like you got to stabilize and then start doing what you should have been doing all along.
Right. Yeah. Give yourself a fighting chance to get back to feeling as good as you can.
Right.
Because when you feel like crap, how can you create? How can you have a good headspace if you physically feel like depleted?
Yeah. And I don't know how we got there, but when I did a bachelor's degree in psychology, and after I got done, I realized then a bunch of psychologists came and pitched me. Oh, you should come do this, or you should come do this. You should come do this, convincing me I should get a doctorate or a master's next for my next job. Right. Because that's what you do when you get a bachelor's degree in psychology. I didn't do any of that. I went, no. And why was because, and this is no dig on psychologists or psychiatry or anything, but I realized that all they're trying to do is get them to okay. That's the goal of it's just okay. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be okay. I want to be way better than okay. Right.
Better. Yeah.
Yeah. Way better than okay.
For sure.
Thrive, not live,
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about what you're doing now.
Okay.
And how did you get there? Because that's got to
be. It was always bothersome to me that we were talking about mental health and burnout and all of these things after the fact, right? And I can advocate for let's have compassion for people that are suffering, but why suffer in the first place? Like I had figured out how to help myself, so why couldn't I help people get ahead of it? So that's when resilience as a lifestyle was born, because I said to myself, no, let's be doing more about this up front and let's save people the suffering. Because if I could have saved my mother some of the suffering by just helping her with some of these basic things, I know it would have made a difference for her. So that's when my brand was born.
So where Vroom Vroom Veer came from? because you asked that. What's vroom vroom veer? I get it. I said the same thing. I said, "What the hell is that?" So when when I made this podcast way back when in 2015, I hired these guys that are expert branding experts, right? And I didn't even know what that meant, but I was like, okay, my podcast I need something to hang my yammerings on. So I hired these guys, and it was like a 6 or 8 week engagement, and nothing was moving. Nothing was happening. Just a lot of talking on Zoom, right? Okay. I think it might've been Skype at that time.
Oh, boy.
And then at one point I was just like, why do we have to wait till the midlife crisis to do something about it? Can't we do something proactively before there's a crisis? Why don't we start working on it? Right. So that's where, and they were like, oh, we can work with that.
Great.
Right.
How about it?
Yeah. So vroom vroom is about when it's like a metaphor, right? Vroom vroom is like when you're head down, focused, kind of maybe on the downside. It's in a Groundhog Day. It's just you're not thinking that much. You're just going with the flow, right? Could be good, could be bad, right? But you're not thinking about change so much.
Okay.
And then the veer can be planned, but it's usually not. It's oh shit, I got to deal with this now.
Right.
So it's and how life sort of oscillates between that sort of steady state and the oh shit state. Vroom, vroom, veer. Right. Okay. So there you go. And it's exactly what you just said. It's can't we get ahead of this?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And before that, I should say, I started living my life trying to get ahead of it. And it's mostly about diet, exercise, easy stuff. Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's just do you have too much shit on your plate? Yes. Anyway, let's get into some of these things some bullet points that you've got that we can talk about.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so first of all, I think the first thing that people need to realize is with our brand resilience as a lifestyle, we're not talking about resilience in the traditional definition where you wait for something to happen for you to build that resilience.
Right.
We don't want it to be about climbing back from something. Instead, we define resilience as having agency. Right. Reminding yourself that you are what you repeatedly think, you are what you repeatedly do.
Right. Oh, that's good.
And you can change things and to stop waiting for external circumstances to be different in order to be happy.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yes. Because they're not going to change.
No. And waiting on something else outside of you.
Yeah.
You relinquish your agency. We want you to remember, okay, well, what do I have control over? I have control over getting 8 hours of sleep. I have control over finding ways to process my stress. I have control over how I view adversity when it shows up. I'm not the victim. I'm here with a curious mind to understand, why is this here? How is it going to teach me something?
Yeah. And the world is always going to be horrifying, right? So don't wait for the world to be like something special and new, because it's not going to be. Right. Don't wait.
Amen.
The news is always going to be bad, but it's also good. Right. There's never there was a moment in one of those I can't remember, those famous Dante's Inferno or something like that, where they're in some level of hell and they're talking to the devil, and it's yes, we have to admit that there's all these bad things, that everybody would equally agree that there's all the bad things. But Mr. Devil, isn't there good too? And he took a very, very pregnant pause and went, yes, of course. Right. So you have to remember that, even when everything is falling to shit, you have to take a break. And that's what depression seemed like to me. It felt like to me that I was just believing there would never be a light at the end of the tunnel. Right.
There's just so many distractions in the world that prevent us from being connected and really knowing ourselves, right? There's external noise everywhere. There's influence everywhere.
Right.
And it's not making it easy for us to make those clear choices that best suit our lives. So it's turning off the noise now and then and connecting to yourself and really understanding what is it that I need to fill my cup is really what we're teaching. We're getting people to recognize they're just distracted by so many external distractions.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
And like we're living in this world now of like my 86-year-old dad doesn't even know where the hell he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. I mean, he's playing along, right? He's on Facebook. He's, buying stuff on from things he shouldn't do. He's screwing up in great and awesome ways, But yeah, the world is completely different. This attention economy, right?
Yeah.
People are vying to get your attention constantly. It's amazing.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of the real tools that you use, like for immediate use, because I'm going down the list now of episode topics.
Yeah, I mean, like I go back to the two things that run our philosophy, and that is we are what we repeatedly do, and we are what we repeatedly think. So you have to be asking yourself, what am I doing every day to help my physical body, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times, like I've coached over 5,000 hours of people, and not only have I coached them, I actually learned the hacks that I know are going to help move the needle for them.
Okay.
And like the number one thing that people come to me and they share is like, they're not getting enough sleep because they're binge watching Netflix, right? So they think, oh, I can survive on, 5 hours of sleep. But like, no, you're setting yourself up to really be not capable of handling the stress that's coming, right? So it's something as simple as get enough sleep, but then don't fall into your day. Create a little bit of time for yourself in the morning every day, because how you start your day will dictate the cadence and the experience you have throughout that day.
Right.
A lot of people like hit snooze, they catapult out of bed. They're immediately at the effects of their lives, and they're not even realizing that that's going to have a domino effect.
So true. So like a morning routine, you take like as much time as you can for a little bit of self-care. Self-thought.
It could be 10 minutes, like you don't have to have like the Tony Robbins hour priming experience. It could be
like minutes. Who has an hour, right?
Seriously, like don't underestimate the power of just sitting, not on your phone, having a cup of coffee or tea, and like, doing something that is just for you, maybe something that inspires you. You could read some music you can listen to, just something just to start the day off on your terms.
Right. We can get into some really advanced stuff that I like. But like game changer for me on that front that I learned about like from a podcast. I think it was Andrew Huberman.
Oh,
he's like,
nice.
That guy? Yeah.
Great.
But his thing about getting like sunlight in the morning in your eyes, that is a game changer.
Yes.
So like I'm pretty good at it usually during the summer because it's easy to get up and get out of the house when it's light really early. But then as soon as like October and November hits in Vegas, I'm like, I don't want to go outside. It's freaking cold. So like all the way up until like a couple of weeks ago, I was not getting my photon dose, as I like to call it. Yeah. And my sleep was trashed.
Yeah.
I didn't even know until, I got outside again and was like, oh, I slept all the way to the alarm again. It was great.
So good. That's such a good tip for sure. Yeah. Sunlight is so good.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you like to do like during your morning just to like set the tone? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a little ritual that I do. I get up and walk my dogs, but then I also, I have these little candles that spin around. So like the warmth from the candle will rise up and like this little like butterfly thing will spin around. So like, I sit down and I watch that silly little candle while I have my coffee. That's awesome. Then I do like 3 gratitudes, and then I do an 8-minute meditation.
Ooh, nice.
So it doesn't take long. It takes 10, 15 minutes, depending. Maybe I do a longer meditation when I feel like it.
Yeah.
But like feel like I'm giving myself a drink of water. Like I'm just kind of doing something for me, getting
It's
my
a
head.
daily reminder. It's like a boot sequence for nerds.
Well, I was just explaining this to someone. Like the mind isn't wired to make you happy. The mind is wired to protect you.
Keep you alive. Yes.
So it's organically going to want to focus on the things that bother you. So gratitude is the distraction that gets your head trained to start looking for good. Right. So when you do that in the beginning of the day, you're suspending your energy on the problems for a few minutes.
Right.
But more importantly, you're getting yourself present to, well, I actually have a lot of good stuff going on and I need to focus my attention there because that's what I want to grow.
Yeah. You don't need to go out looking for things that suck because they're everywhere. The opposite is true.
It's so true.
So let's talk about flipping the script on burnout, because who doesn't need that, right? Everybody's burnt out. Nobody has any time.
Right.
What are we doing to flip this script?
It's interesting when I say flip the script, we are coming at resilience from an entirely different perspective.
Right.
We're coming at burnout from an entirely different perspective. Like we are not going into the clinical space at all. We're coming at it from a very practical perspective, right? Like I said, we are what we think, we are what we repeatedly do, right? Those two things. So we're looking at energy, we're looking at stress levels. Those are two things you can actually do something about. If you are finding that you have low energy, go right back to the drawing board, right? Where's my diet? Where's my sleep? Where's my hydration? Where's my movement? Where's my connection to people I love?
Totally. You
Those
nailed
things,
them all.
right? Like you have to take inventory and say, okay, well, hey, now you want to get a dopamine hit, right? Because we want ourselves to build momentum and to keep doing stuff that feels good.
Right.
So make small changes and be proud of those small changes because that's going to build you up the momentum to keep going.
Right.
So I'm going to get to bed by 10 o'clock tonight. Come hell or high water. I'm getting to bed by 10 o'clock so I get a good amount of sleep, right?
And don't put YouTube on or don't put Netflix.
I know. True.
I have a mini hack for everybody out there. So like I was in the habit of binging YouTube at bedtime. So that's not a good idea, by the way. And here's why. It's because you can't avoid the commercials. Even when you hit skip, right?
Yeah.
Like they're still there and they're not good for you. But like what I would do instead of that was I would find like this like fall asleep video. Yeah. That's like a black screen and just like music that was designed to put you to sleep. Nice. And then I would set my timer on my TV to turn off after an hour.
Nice.
Right? So yes, that's all really good. But then I realized, why am I doing that? I have a phone and it doesn't have any ads on it. I can download an MP3 for free, use the same one every day and just put it on repeat because it's not like it has an end or a beginning. And now I'm not on YouTube anymore. So anyway, that was like 2 levels of hacks from Jeff.
That's great. Hey, listen, I want people to remember Netflix declared a war on sleep. If you go to Matt Walker's TED Talk about sleep, he highlights that Netflix declared a war on your sleep. So every night you're up binge watching the next episode, like totally winning the game.
Yes. It's like a 3-second countdown. The next show starts in 3, 2, 1. I gotta pee.
And you're going to pay the price. Like the next day you will pay the price because we know for a fact that stress and adversity shows up every day. So it's all about, the only thing we have agency over is how prepared we are to deal with stress and adversity. And you've got to give yourself a shot to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's like you have to fill the tank up,
Sure.
Right. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about daily habits that stick because it's on the list.
You're funny. I mean, daily habits that stick, we've already spoken a lot about them, right? Like the basics. I like to talk to people about stress because we know that if we don't have an outlet for stress, it's going to be hard to handle more and we know it's coming.
Right.
No matter what.
Mm.
Um, so what are you doing to mitigate stress in your life? Like, are you making your fitness routine the place where you go and blow off steam? Are you sitting in meditation to clear the noise out of your head so you can sleep at night and you're not ruminating before you try to go to bed? But you have to have these things. You have to have these like tools in your pocket, in your holster, to be able to deal with that.
Totally.
So stress is definitely one of the things that I'm constantly talking to my clients about, because you have to have something. There has to be something where you unplug and you can process that.
What sort of strategies do you use to say, like, make a habit stick? I've heard a lot. Like, there's so many ways, but this is for me. Yes. Yep. Okay. Accountability. I've heard
accountability
yes.
buddy. Like, yep, I mean, with roles, having an accountability buddy, you actually declare what you're going to do. And then that accountability buddy holds you accountable. You said you were going to run 5 times this week. You only did 3. Okay. Well, you got 3 in. Now, how are you going to up that next week? Because I'm going to be here to check in with you to see if you hold your, if you do it. So
and they're not gonna kill you or anything. They're not gonna take away your puppy, but they're gonna call you on your shit.
Absolutely, as they should. Right?
That actually works.
It does work.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it could be a partner, it could be a friend, it could be whatever.
Totally.
So
I like. I like it. So what other? I have a couple other strategies like what is it, like adding a thing to a thing you're already doing? So like
habit stacking.
Habit stacking. There you go. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. Like,
so habit stacking. What do you automatically already do? Like for me, when I wanted to
you're gonna brush your teeth, right? That's gonna happen.
So for me, when I wanted to add like the meditation and the gratitude practice to my morning routine, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sit down and have a cup of coffee. All right.
There you go.
I'm going to do it when I have my coffee, because my coffee is a no-brainer. I'm already doing it, and now I'm just adding on to it.
Perfect. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And it works way better than brushing teeth, because you're done brushing your teeth in like 2 minutes.
True.
If you've got, I learned this one. This is not related to stress or anything else, but if you've got an electric toothbrush, you don't need to use toothpaste every time.
Oh, listen to you with the information.
I love that. Yes. Oh, and this other one was like my teeth right here in the front are a pain in the ass. Right. Okay. They're always extra dirty when I go get my cleaning.
Okay.
And then I went on YouTube and I found this, I think she's a hygienist, but she's also selling how to actually have clean teeth.
Okay.
She's like, down there, you need to spend more time. Like pretend you're brushing your teeth with floss, right? Oh. Like 5 times up and down both sides, multiple times. Yes. And it's really bad for me. Yes. I love that. Right? I obsessed on it forever, and now it's working.
Amazing.
So let's talk, like you'd say, turning stress into strength. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So turning stress into strength. So what does that mean? Again, it goes back to, how do we view stress and adversity? If you have a curious mind, you have a learning mindset, right? Like, be curious as to, why is this here? Stress in and of itself calls us to, show up and reveals to us our true capacity. So stress in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's going to help us see what our capacity is. This is why when you work out at the gym and you do physical activity, you start to go, oh my, I had no idea I could do that. Well,
yes,
it's stress, right? Because you're just like, oh, I'm proud of that. So, but understanding that, stress is here, and it's how we view it. I ask this question when I do my audit with my clients. I say, do you believe that life is happening to you or for you? Right. And when you say life is happening to you, then you're at the effects of life. There's no area for curiosity. It's very easy to feel the victim, right? I'm going to be the victim identity. Yeah, of course. Of course, this is happening to me. Of course, me, no one else but me. Look,
Right.
like, and then you wear that, and it's just like, okay, well, how are you ever going to, get through adversity and be okay? You're just going to constantly be feeling like you're getting beaten down.
It's like you're choosing the wrong role.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
It's
But
like,
if that,
who am I in this story? Right.
right, right.
Everything's happening
Yeah.
to me. Right.
But there's always a payoff, right? Like, there's always a payoff that, you have people in your life, and so do I, who love to complain. What's the payoff? Well, they got your ear, they got your attention, right? So,
right.
but there's nothing empowering about that narrative.
Right.
But they've gotten something from doing that.
Correct.
You have to recognize, like, what's the payoff of you complaining versus going, all right, this is some crap that I have to deal with, but maybe I'm going to figure out why this is here.
Totally. But I like when you turn it around, and every time something comes down the pike that you weren't expecting or you don't like if you like turn it around and like, instead of saying, oh, woe is me again, oh, there goes my tail again. And the next time you go into your Eeyore script, you could say like, how could this be the best thing ever?
Right.
Right. Like, how could this be like a challenge for me to overcome to make me better? Right.
Right.
When you turn that around, everything changes, I think.
But I think a lot of people are used to the disagreement with reality, right? Like, when they disagree with it, and when they disagree with it, they're completely going to stay stuck. Like, I use the analogy all the time.
Disagree with reality. That's a good one. That's a really good phrase. Yes.
You drive down the road, you get a flat tire. Like, you could get out of the car, kick the tire, jump up and down, and get very upset.
Right.
You're disagreeing with your reality. Is that going to change anything?
It's not going to fix the tire. Right.
It's going to elevate your heart rate. You're going to get all worked up. Like, what's the point? Like, disagreeing with your reality changes nothing. So being curious about why it's, how you're going to handle this is everything.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. I remember I was in a car accident that probably could have killed me. Thank you, God, for not killing me. I was in Southern California, and that's why I moved. There was like 2 back-to-back within a year accidents that could have killed me. I was like, there's too many damn cars and people in LA. I got to get out of here. But like, I luckily was not hurt, right? My car, I didn't know it at the time, was totaled, right? So I had to call one of my, I was in massage school at the time, and I was supposed to go back to school and pick up one of my classmates and drive her home because she lived in my neighborhood. We were carpooling.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I called her. I was like, can you get another way home? Because I don't have a car anymore. And she's like, God, yeah. Are you okay? Right. And I'm like, yeah. I'm on the phone with AAA. I just talked to the police. Now I got to go tow my car and blah, blah, blah. Right. I was right into the whole, like, let's just deal with this shit.
Yeah.
Right. I'm on the right. But like the thing was I think everybody, me included. Okay. I think I was a little tuned out because I didn't take time for myself to go, holy shit, I could have died. Right. The next day I felt like crap. And I ended up going to class and leaving early because I didn't realize I kind of needed to deal with Well, my body was like, the day it happened, I was in, you get into like one of those shock things.
Yes.
And you just push through it, right? You just push through it. Then you wake up the next day and my whole body was just like on lockdown. Ooh. I had to push. There was nothing wrong with me other than I was shook, as they say. Yeah. Anyway. So yes, I mean, I did both things right there. I dealt with it and didn't deal with it all at once. I dealt with the easy stuff. How's that sound?
Yeah.
So let's, the user manual for the brain. What a great, don't you wish you got one of those when you were born? Here's your user manual.
Seriously. Like, people don't understand, like the little things we're talking about, how the mind's not wired to make you happy, how what you focus on will always expand, how you view adversity affects your day-to-day experience. These are little things, like we're teaching the hacks so people understand, oh, there's my brain doing that thing again, you know?
Right.
You know, I did an exercise the other morning where I woke up in bed and I was laying there, and you feel completely refreshed when you wake up for the most part, and your mind is blank, right? And then all of a sudden I just kind of took a step back and I observed where my mind went, and it went to every frickin' single problem I had going on in my world. And it was like I just did this whole rundown, this whole inventory of all the negative, and I was like, wow. So
It
there's
loads
something
so quickly. It's just
there's something so
right.
remarkable about connecting with yourself in a way where you can then become an observer of what's going on up here.
Yes.
Powerful.
That's the mindfulness. There's so many different lessons that now, like, we're probably saying things that people are like maybe at some level rejecting. I'm going to say something right now that maybe you and other people might reject, and that's okay. Right?
Okay.
These things are just little things. You probably won't reject it, but people listening might. Okay. So I was listening to a YouTube video, and this guy just kept saying, like, you are not that voice in your head. That's not you. Mm-hmm. That's not you. I'm not telling you who you are. I'm just saying that's not you.
Yeah.
Those are your thoughts. And for whatever reason, that was like a reminder to me because, you know, longtime meditator, reader of many Wayne Dyer books, Eckhart Tolle, right? I know that that's not me, but it's so easy to forget.
It's real,
like
right?
You're walking around talking to yourself all day. Who else would you be other than that voice that you're talking to in your head?
It's so true.
Right? I have some ideas. Doesn't matter. Just try to realize that that's not you.
Right.
Whatever it is that you are, you can make up for yourself.
Right.
But you're definitely not the thoughts.
The narratives that run in our head, another thing that I remind people of, the narratives that run in our head are often narratives that are developed when we're very little that just follow us. Whether we heard it from our parents or we thought it when we were young. And so the way I talk about this is to name it as the itty bitty shitty committee. Right? So if you name it and you start to laugh at it as, oh, that's just the itty bitty shitty committee, you know, thinking it's doing me good. And in reality, I'm just kind of like, well, what's that thought about? Like, really? You know, but again, all about the power of self-awareness and becoming the observer and laughing and going, I am not that ridiculous narrative that's running in the backdrop. It's just some commentary that's coming from the committee.
The itty bitty shitty committee. Yes, I love it. That's great. I'm using it. It's now TM Jeff Smith.
Yeah, it's you. Take it, because people need all the tools they can get to realize that they have more control than, you know, autopilot.
I like that you just named, you said it without putting any emphasis on it, but you just said you're the observer. Mm-hmm. So when you're having a conversation in your head, listen more. And you identify with the listener or the observer of your thoughts. That is like who you might be.
Here's the other thing. If you're chronically feeling like crap, but you physically feel good, understand it's the itty bitty shitty committee hijacking you, right? Like if you're thinking all of these negative thoughts all day long, you're not going to feel good. The name of the game energetically in general is to feel as good as possible, physically and mentally. And if you have to suspend that little voice in your head because it's not helping you, you got to become the observer, step back and go, that is not supporting me feeling good and being my best self.
So let's talk about what you do when you do your mindfulness practice or your meditation. Do you use some sort of audio dealio or an app?
Do.
Okay.
I do. I have my favorite meditation instructor. She's got free content on YouTube, but she's also on Insight Timer, is a Canadian woman named Sarah Blondin.
Okay. Ooh.
I love her work. I love her voice. It's very thought-provoking, but also very calming.
Right.
So I'll do a Sarah Blondin meditation. And then I have something on my phone called the 5-Minute Journal app that just prompts you and says every day, what are 3 things you're grateful for?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I just go in, log it, and move on.
That's easy. Yeah.
Very. For me, it needs to be so easy. I can't not do it. Otherwise, I'll do it.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
one of those healthy vices, right?
It is a healthy vice. Yeah.
I see now. I can relate to the idea of needing a healthy vice. It's like there's nothing in the world that is zero cost.
True.
But there are things that'll add to the bank and things that'll subtract, right? So you want to balance that out. Right. There you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to write those things down. Remind me before we hang up. I want to put those things in the show notes and link to those two things. Yeah. I just found like now I can't remember the dude's name, but this Zen master, Shukman is his last name.
Oh, nice.
Yes. He's from England.
Okay.
So like anybody British and like Buddhist. Oh yeah. Oh, I've learned this new thing now that I didn't really believe in. But like recently I've listened to a bunch of not Zen, but Buddhist meditation instructors.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Some Zen, some maybe not Zen, doesn't really matter. Buddhist for sure. And there was this idea that their teaching is like this thing that is like the tradition is getting transmitted through them, through that line, right? And it's like it's the whole experience of the teaching. It's not what they're saying. It's not the content, right? That's just hanging there to give you something to go at. But the actual teaching is the thing that's coming from the Buddha or whatever. It's being transmitted from teacher to receiver. Amazing. So I think I got it. This Shukman guy, he's got that vibe. So super, just like your teacher, right? You have to find your own teacher that you vibe with. Yeah.
Yeah. A voice that's soothing and relaxing for me might not be for you. So yeah.
Right. It's just someone you connect with. Right. Mm-hmm. I did massage. Remember I said massage school? Yeah. And like, I gave a lot of massages, right? And like 85% of them, the response to my touch was, it's not bad. It's not it's not good. It's just okay. I'm not going to be mad about it. It was a good massage, right? Mm-hmm. But then like the other 15% was like, get your hands off of me. Or you're the best ever, right? So you never really know. It's just like a vibe thing, right? It's the same idea. Yeah. Anyway, I digress as usual. Okay, so let's talk about like real results from coaching. So what do you mean when you say real results from coaching? Oh, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Sorry.
I think what makes our formula so effective and so practical is most coaches want there to be like this 6-month, 9-month, 12-month engagement. We have seen incredible results in 8 sessions. We don't want people.
Awesome. Yeah.
We want people to become codependent. We want them to be self-sufficient. So we are literally shifting how, people, they learn how to do the things. We hold them accountable. They gain momentum. They integrate it in their life. After 8 sessions, they're set. And then we follow up with them months later and they're still in it. They're still doing it. So that's why our work is so effective. Is it's not going to be something that is like a extremely long process. It's just get in, do the work, move on, and help another life.
It's not going to drain your bank account forever.
No.
It's not going to buy Michelle E. Dickinson a boat or new windows.
We believe that the currency is lives touched, and
there you go. Ooh, awesome.
the compensation will come. But like, we want to get in, get out, move on to the next life, because we really just want to help as many people as possible.
You've got 8 billion people to get through.
There's a lot of people out there.
You don't maybe have to get all of them, but you can try.
No, I'm going to. I'm diligently trying. You have no idea.
Michelle, this has been a blast. We should wrap up and then maybe come back and, get some more. Yeah. We could just do this again. This was fun.
Absolutely. Whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So talk a little bit about how people can get in touch with Michelle E. Dickinson of resilienceasalifestyle.com.
At resilienceasalifestyle.com. That's our website. You can go there. But my second home is LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. So this has been a blast. You have a good one.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.